is going to make the early game tough. And you see already, Vici Gaming, they're taking away the Fizz.
Yeah, the Fizz banned away from Flandre. Nobody wants to deal with that. Callista stricken from Endless. Alistar from Ella. Very standard high meta priority picks coming through so far.
But things that peak early and continue to consistently do things during team fights. Because remember, that's a tank Fizz. That's a very tanky Alistar. They want the team fights to not go for that long. And on the side of Snake, they also ban away the ever-powerful Ryze right now. And we've seen some different builds out of Ryze. Like, do you go third items Rylai's? Do you go for like a Luden's Echo? Do you go tanky still? I don't think so. So Ryze, I think that people are starting to figure him out more and more. But right now, it's just his kit that's inherently powerful.
Yeah.
That's why he's being played, for the spammability of the W.
He is so strong, and Snake are actually peeling that away from Dandy, so they might know something we don't. Hatong, the Azir guy himself, decides he wants to take that away from you. And we talked a little bit about it, mentioning that would be a high priority pick. The next one that we talked about would be Gragas in the jungle. So we'll see if Snake decide to leave that open, because that would leave Dandy on Hecarim.
Yeah, and Hecarim, Gragas, Azir is a spine that both these teams like to run, and you see Snake, they recognize that as well. They take the Hecarim away.
Yeah, so Gragas is still open for World 6. We'll see if he decides to go for it, as he does have first pick. Then again, that would leave Crystal with Sivir. That would leave him with Draven. Pretty much his AD carry pool has been untouched. Not even the Callista can really hurt him that much.
Yeah, exactly right. And, you know, that's why they leave Sivir up so much, Snake, because they run Draven into it and then just lane bully. But they will go for Gragas here. I have no doubt that that's what they're going to lock in. And World 6 picks that up. Not surprising at all. That is, as we said, he looks far and away the best on that champion right now.
Yeah, so that's going to be Gragas locked in. Sivir now secured for Crystal. Snake, very atypical of them, decide, you know what, we're going to prioritize the bottom lane once again.
Yeah, and you know, I like it, because Flandre, he really needs a facilitator to get him in. Whether it's an Orianna and Nunu, something that can speed him up, slow other people down. Sivir fills that role and they can take it first pick. And there's just no downside to Sivir right now. Like, she lanes well, her mid game is fantastic, her 1, 2, 3. Even late game, because of the AoE nature of her kit, she does a heck of a lot of damage, inherently safe with that spell shield. So just a good overall pick.
Yeah, and right now, Vici looking to answer that Sivir and Thresh. So far, it looks like Dandy going to be going for a more traditional tank on Maokai in the top lane. We've seen him on sort of smite top laners before, but I think this is going to be the first time in a while that we're seeing him on a really true traditional tank role in the top.
Yeah, he has played it before. He also picked up Nara in one of his games as well. So he's played a couple of the more traditional laners. But Maokai, he's just good at all parts of the game as well. So very well-rounded right now. The mid lane is going to be interesting, because that's a blind pick, Victor coming in there. And, you know, Victor does a lot of damage. He has good poke with the laser. It's deceptively long range. Is going to be able to move around the map quite quickly once he augments the Q and he's able to throw that one out. But he's very short range in every other aspect of his kit. Needs to be kneeling on top of your carries. And if they run something like a zone control team comp, and this is going to be the first potential jungle Scion, although I really want it to be a mid-Scion coming through there for Snake. And that's what they've run, a zone control comp. So Victor struggles to get in on top of these.
Yeah, I would be astonished if you were to take that Scion in the mid lane, as he is more standard for those control-style mages. But it's likely that we're going to see you take that Rumble in the top and Beast take Scion in the jungle. A little bungle in the jungle from that Scion. But Vici Gaming, they're going to fill it out with their last two picks, the AD carry and support, Endless and Mata. They recognize that zone control and disengage is a bit of an issue, so they decide to go for the highly mobile Lucian. Well, they might. They might change it up. And, yeah, you know, Tristana fills that same role as well.
Yeah, highly mobile once again, can poke down turrets a little bit better, has more range than Lucian, so you understand why the Tristana is coming through. So a pick that's seeing more popularity, just in lane swaps, does incredible work as well, and is one of the few AD carries at the start of the game that's going to be able to shove Sivir in. Doesn't have to use any mana for it, really. Just throws that explosive shot on one of the caster creeps and able to mow down wave after wave. So don't mind that at all coming through. And we're going to see maybe you on a throwback pick here, picking up something like a Jason. That's a lot of poke that's going to come through. Some good disengaged already out of Thresh. Very hard to dive on top of Scion as well. So, you know, they can set up reasonably well around turrets as well.
Yeah, you were just talking about the short range of Victor, and what better way to deal with it than poke him from the other side of the lane. And yeah, it is a Jace locked in for you. Snake looking very scary with this team comp.
Yeah, and they've got some magic damage in the top lane, so it doesn't really matter in that regard. Jace is, I think, underrated late game because you can pick up an Infinity Edge and then you are a very real crit potential if you ever get one on a carry. People go for it more often than not. He's already got the cleanse in the kit, so we'll see whether they're able to pull that one off. But the one danger is that they peak very early. So once the Mirror Mana, the cooldown reduction boots, and maybe a Brutalizer comes through, Jace is going to be at his strongest. Same for Flandre on that Rumble in the top lane. So they have to make the most of it early game.
Yeah, and Tristana, we all know she is the late game queen of AD carries, very strong. But here's Beast and World 6 on that Gragas and Scion.
Yeah, so just picking up on the Tristana point, I like Tristana more during the mid game now. I think that she's actually, since the change came through, she's took a little bit of a hit on her range. She has to hit the same person for the cooldown reduction to be similar on her Q now. So she's definitely not the point that she used to be, but the reason that she's so good late game still is because she has her own repositioning, which is the jump, of course, and then she has an enemy reposition, which is the Buster Shot. So any AD carry that has dual escapes is always going to be good the later the game goes on.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on whether or not he is able to make it to that late game because, again, this is Snake. This is the team that will take an advantage and run with it. And they've got the team comp built around it. You mentioned how they might need a team that peaks early that they can continue snowballing. So they've got it.
They've got a team that forces fights really well because all of a sudden they're going to control Dragon well with Jace, with Rumble, with these things, and they can continue to stack up those Dragon buffs, make sure that people are fighting on those terms. And Vici, they're going to have to run it at some point.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Vici can keep up with Snake as we load into the Rift for game number 1. And we are on the Rift right into a bit of a pause. This is Vici Gaming versus Snake, and unfortunately we do have a pause to kick things off, and hopefully we'll get that fixed right on up. But let's continue expanding on that point a little bit that we hit just before getting into this. Snake have got a very peaky, snowball-y composition.
Yeah, they certainly do. Coming into the game, they've got the Sivir Scion, which is great for engage because you speed your Scion up. He's already really good with the ultimate, can get in there, disrupt the backline. But more importantly, you've got the Rumble Jace, and that was the making of every Pokemon. You throw a Trundle jungle back in there, and that was great. But for the disengage, so Jace is going to be able to set up around turrets. Sivir's going to wave clear it out for him, so Jace doesn't have to waste mana pushing out creep waves, and then he's just going to mow people down with those shock blasts coming through. And it's going to be difficult to engage onto them because Rumble's going to layer the CC with Scion, who's going to be able to peel back. You've got Thresh Box, all these tools to be able to get back. And they have double physical damage. What better way to take down mid-game turrets? Couple that with the fact that double physical damage and Rumble are great for Baron, Dragon control, these kinds of things. As we are back onto the Rift, just means that Vici is going to have to get some sort of advantage in one of the lanes and try and ride a lane win. I'm looking towards the Tristana lane probably early on, or maybe the Victor, to try and see if they can get some work done.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to keep an eye on whether or not Vici are able to turn it around. I'm kind of curious how they're going to do this. Whoa, jump
That's how they're going to do it.
They might be trying to go for first blood here. He's down now to 400 health, down now to 200. Here comes Ella from the far side. Yeah, he's going to walk away.
Yeah, but that was a really aggressive first play coming through there. Leveling up the rocket jump to get the slow and the gap close at the same time. Try and burst down you. Now means that they're going to be slightly weaker in lane. Not surprised to see now that you see Endless walking towards that top side of the map. Get the Maokai to do a jungle follow. He jungles incredibly quickly already. So it was a gamble, and that's what Vici need to do. Try and get ahead early.
Yeah, it seems like no summoner spells were spent so far. It is, again, dead even in gold as the minions have only just put themselves onto the map. And with it, it looks like Vici Gaming opt into the lane swap, like you said. They don't want to take any chances against that Sivir Thresh bottom lane. And it does look like it is a double jungle start coming out of both of the two teams as they react to the lane swap accordingly.
Yeah, so going to be able to get the follow through for Beast. He jungles really quickly, Scion. He's great in the early game as well. And you see Ella trying to scout out exactly where the bottom lane of Vici, the jungle, sorry, for Vici started. Did see the red buff, so going to be able to go across, pick up the blue buff nice and easily.
Yeah, so we're probably not going to be seeing any what we like to call vertical jungling this game just yet. However, the strong side for Vici is still on the top side of the map. Snake is going to be the bottom. And we already can see some harass now coming up between these two mid laners, Hatong and Yu, as they trade back and forth. Interestingly enough, they've got some pretty unique summoner spells. Yeah,
they certainly have. A cleanse coming through. I actually thought Hatong had taken. He must have swapped it over at the last second. He's got exhaust. Like the exhaust because Jace jumps on you all in. Very easy to get exhaust when someone jumps on you. Shred away some of that resist and then really destroy them in lane. The cleanse is just something that Jace does take. He's a pokey champion. If he gets caught out, really mucks him up. So just doesn't want that to happen, as we see Endless not actually pushing the wave just yet, still freezing. And this is something that Tristanas tend to do, but they're also very good shovers when they want to be.
Yeah, we are seeing that wave staggered out just a bit, and it seems like we're getting something similar out of Crystal where Ella goes for it.
Is V's going to die? There's a cool dragon stat that they used to run in with top lane Sion in China, which is where you just tank up the dragon, let it kill you, and then just keep hitting it while you're dead.
Oh yeah, the early
Take
Sion.
first dragon really easy.
Interesting. Beast decides not to go for it. Both of the junglers now going for the Krug camp. It's a little bit faster for Vici Gaming as they are just barely a step ahead of Snake. You mentioned the clear speed of that Maokai. And the wave is now proxied for Snake on that bottom wave.
Yeah, they're going to go for a dive here. You see they're trying to shove mid in once again. And once that does happen, Yu needs to be incredibly careful. Does have that cleanse, so CC not really going to be the issue, but is pretty squishy because he went for a longsword start.
Yeah, directional pings coming out. Here's the minion wave. Is he going to spot Janna in time? The four members show themselves in mid, and Yu
exit stage right. Yeah, just walks away, and they're trying to do this dragon right now. Beast is taking some damage. Juggles it with Flandre. Flandre's like, come on, man, you have a passive, just die.
You've got it built into your kit. Yeah, Beast finally is taken low. Let's see if he is going to end up going down here. He's still juggling it. No, the rest of Snake show up, and Beast is able to get the dragon and keep his life.
Yeah, so able to come through with that. Does have to bring the bottom lane up. That wave is reversing, I believe. Actually, no, it's still pushing slightly, so no, it's reversing. I can't count tricks. I didn't see you last melee minion, so that's in Crystal's favor. Don't have to shove down the turret anymore.
And so far, it looks like Crystal is going to be setting up this freeze. Vici, looks like they do want to put a fast push on that top tier 1. They have got a minor gank set up, but Flandre and Ella are showing themselves. Oh, same thing with Beast.
Yep, no, they've spotted out. 3 members up there. Will they go for it?
Yeah, let's see if they make it under the turret in time. They do indeed. The AoE starts coming out. Flandre is taking the majority of the damage, but it looks like Mata's the first to go down. The instant pop trades it right back over for Flandre, and Endless walks away.
Yeah, so 1-for-1 trade, and they're still going.
Yeah, lots of damage coming across. Dandy trying to bait that turret aggro. It's now 2 versus 4 heroes. Hatong has roamed up. Dandy flashes out of there. The AoE is so big, it kills one. Teleport now coming in. Endless is at no health. He finally is going to go down as
They're all in a lot of trouble.
Up with the flank. This is a scary position for Vici Gaming. They're running as fast as they can, but they're so low mana for Snake, they might just have to let them go. They're continuing to chase. World 6 and Dandy are solo. Great stun and exhaust finds Flandre. And Vici Gaming seems like they're going to get out.
Yeah, so they will get out in 2 for 2, but realistically, Crystal in that bottom lane still farming it out, frozen so deeply, is just going to be right into Snake's hand. He will start building a CS advantage because he's actually kept a lot of them alive down there. In the end, didn't work out the way Vici wanted to it, but this is what they need to do. Try and make early plays and get themselves a lead.
Yeah, and this is what we see from Crystal with that big wave, nice and shoved up under his turret. That's going to mean Endless is in a bit of a bad situation if he wants to get aggressive. Endless, however, does have that early BF sword, so hopefully he should be able to trade just a bit with Crystal, and things finally seem like they're going to settle down a bit. Flandre looks for a nice deep board to spot out World 6 and then returns to his top lane.
Yeah, Crystal needs to be careful here because of that BF sword you mentioned, not to mention Matu's shields coming through is going to be painful. Does spell shield that one away, but he needs to shove this lane and get it back. He probably has enough for an Avarice as well as a BF or maybe a pickaxe if he wants to be incredibly aggressive. And the shop timing couldn't be better right now.
Oh, the Death Sentence pulls Endless in. He doesn't have Flash and doesn't have Heal either, but there's the Tristana repositioning.
Yeah, and you know what's stronger than a BF sword at this point in the game? Turrets. They're really good. So if you take turret shots, you're probably going to lose the majority of the trades. That's exactly what happened to Endless there. Went a little bit too aggressive because he's trying to push this lead that he feels he has over Crystal, but can't get it done.
Ooh, the Death Sentence just misses from Ella. Mata goes in. Crystal takes some more damage. And suddenly that BF sword starts to look pretty powerful.
Yeah, it certainly does. Not to mention the couple of potions that Endless brought back to lane. So they will need to get a recall into Crystal. Beast has been spotted out by World 6.
Yeah, and that is the Scuttle Crab secured by Beast, but Dandy comes in for the flank. Hatong follows him up from the other side, and Beast from 3 sides goes down.
Yeah, and World 6 picks it up for himself, doesn't give it across. Interestingly enough, World 6 has done what I call the cardinal sin of junglers at the moment. He's gone for his Barmy Cinder before he's picked up tier 2 jungle item. It's confusing, doesn't give you that much more farming potential, and it gives you less gold, which is just overall a net loss.
Yeah, curious choice from World 6. So far, it seems to be paying off, as he does have just a little bit more damage to champions, and so far he has only applied that damage to Beast, but that did yield a kill for Vici Gaming. And
yeah, he bought 2 friends as well, you know, that's just cheating. That wasn't a duel.
Yeah.
No gentleman agreement there.
There were no handshakes.
Definitely no handshakes.
Yeah, but we're starting to get a little bit closer to the mid game. We're 8.5 minutes in, and Snake haven't snowballed quite so hard. The recall from Crystal yields a BF sword in addition to more consumables, so he's actually even with Endless right now. Beast on the invade tries to steal away this red buff. Yeah,
so he's going to be able to get it. Look at all the support coming over for him, and this is what I mentioned about Snake when they counter jungle. You see mid what came, the support came. AD Carry had walked up and made sure that there was nothing in that brush, so that that route would be clear if they did get very heavily counter-engaged on him. World 6, he's going to check his red. It's not going to be there. After he picked up Beast, Beast grabbed his right back.
Yeah, so bit of a trade there between the two, and Beast looks like he's going to be giving blue buff over to you now to help him out in that lane. He's doing pretty well in CS. You can see he's even. Actually, Hatong might... No, he just decided to take the long way around to keep an eye on you. And yeah, this is pretty good for Snake. We talked about how they would be looking for a snowball. They haven't found it just yet. They do have that first dragon, however.
Yeah, so they got first dragon, and this is what we spoke about, that they just are going to snowball off objectives. They've got a little bit of a CS advantage in the bottom lane. Top lane, it's equaled right back out. Jungle probably the major discrepancy right now, with World 6 being pretty far ahead of Beast in terms of gold, but they're going to go dive Flandre again.
Yeah, Vici looking to capitalize on the weak link. Equalizer was just used, and Flandre clears the wave out.
But he needs to keep running right now because they are still coming for him.
Yeah, Hatong shows himself as he goes deep. Great sense from Flandre to recognize the mid laner's missing, the jungler's missing, and this tanky Maokai is getting awful aggressive.
Yeah, exactly right. So backs away at the perfect time. We'll give a little bit more of an advantage in the mid lane over to you, but he's in the exact same position right now.
Yeah.
Has to get the heck out of there.
He does have blue buff, so he can trade some damage back over to Hatong.
Oh, and they go back in for Flandre, but this time, Beast is on the way.
Beast is in position. He's got level 6. This will be a cannon minion wave coming after this creep. However, Flandre clears it out in time, so that means the wave is going to meet in the middle. And World 6 decides to recall, and things finally seem to slow themselves out a little bit. No dives happening.
Yeah, so everyone just back to normal, although Beast is his ultimate and is still top lane, so they might look to see if they can get on top of Dandy. But otherwise, a relatively quiet early game. It is 11 minutes. I'm expecting Dragon to be the next priority for Snake.
Ella missing the death sentence there. He's going to be punished for it as he takes some serious damage from Endless, but should be traded over just fine. Crystal getting a great boomerang. He does so much damage, and so far, he's actually using that mana pot now for more mana.
And
I mean, what else would you use it for?
Yeah, exactly right. But in the bottom lane, they traded damage onto the support for damage onto AD carry. And the general rule about support is you buy more consumables because you're expecting to trade in lane. So that's a net loss.
Ooh, World 6 is taking so much damage here. There's so much AoE. He's not able to take the Dark Passage, and despite a great death sentence, he goes down.
Yeah, so in the end, they do lose one member. Ella was able to make it out there. Didn't have to burn anything, but that was just fantastic layering of CC. The Gragas ultimate didn't really move her, but then the Janna ultimate did.
Yeah, great play out of Vici Gaming, and more importantly, that kill is onto Endless. He's 3-1-0 right now, and he's actually at the big deficit against the enemy team.
Yeah, and this is what they don't want to do, see Dragon control over to Vici Gaming, because we said their team comp peaks much earlier coming through, so you see they're trying to fight.
Yu's coming in. Beast comes to try to get the steal. He doesn't quite find it. Endless taking so much damage. He jumps the wall, but Ignite picks it up. Ella gets revenge for his fallen carry.
Yeah, so in the end, they're able to trade a kill, but the Dragon goes to Vici. So that snowball that Snake started nice and early in the game by, I guess, supporting the lane swap, because it was definitely Vici that initiated it, just means that they're not going to have number 5 when they have a Rumble, when they have the Jace.
Yeah, so the delayed power spike out of Snake might come to hurt them in the late game. We'll definitely see if that is the case. As
Hatong.
Hatong is doing so much damage. He actually flashes aggressively.
Yeah.
Yu makes it out.
Yeah, Yu had a great response flash there, and now Hatong's in a little bit of trouble.
Scary position. The death sentence lands, pulls Hatong right back into his gravity field. Exhaust finds Beast, but he's taking so much damage. It's Beast who evens up the kills.
Yeah, and the consistent damage coming out of that jungle Scion. You know, he's got the spammable CC that comes through, especially when he levels Q, which is what you tend to do in the jungle right now. And then the Cinder Hulk continually burning you down, the slow. Just something that we don't see very much, but I think is a little bit undervalued is jungle Scion.
Yeah, lots of effectiveness right there. Now, during all of that confusion, the bottom tier 1 turret did go down, so that's going to help open up the gold lead for Snake. You can see the pickaxe first from Crystal, and right now, it looks like Endless is trying to freeze that wave down bottom, but that's a little tricky as Tristana as he clears it out.
It's actually impossible as Tristana to freeze wave.
It's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Tricky / impossible.
Yeah, same thing, you know. But you see they've got a lot of wards in Beast top side of the jungle. They stole the last red buff, tried to replicate the feat this time around, but just a lot of pressure on the top side of the map coming out of Snake. Credit to Dandy in the top lane. He's actually created a fairly substantial CS lead after all that pressure they gave him early game. So they're trying to get the Maokai going, get to the point where he's way too tanky late game for this Jace to poke him down. And that is a very valuable way to win the game. If they're able to just facilitate a huge dive coming through from Maokai, Gragas, the 2 tank members, it will mean that the backline does plenty of damage in Tristana and Victor.
Yeah, Tristana's already trying to take off. You can see the Avarice Blade now picked up by both of the AD carries for additional gold. And I swear, these guys know something that I don't in solo queue. It's always the Avarice Blade on the AD carries.
Yeah, it certainly is, you know. It's just if there's nothing to fight over for the next couple of minutes, Dragon's gone down, bottom lane turrets have gone down, you're expecting passive farming to come through. Avarice Blade is just a great pickup because it's not combat efficient stats, but it is a little bit of crit in case you do get the trade coming through. And it just is like the investment banker build. It makes you better off when these objectives are up.
Yeah, so far there aren't any big objectives. As you can see, the bottom tier ones have been taken. Like you said, Dragon is now off the map. And there is a significant amount of ward coverage for Vici, but they're not finding any picks. And even if they were to find some picks, that's going to be a very tanky Scion and a very mobile Jace. So right now it seems like they're content to just farm it up. Bit of a rotation is going to send Mata to the top lane. Yeah,
beautiful map movement from both AD carries. They had the same idea at a very similar time, but Beast is going in.
Yeah, the train driver rushing forward. He doesn't quite find Endless, gets knocked right back. Challenging Smite is going to land. He takes some damage.
Teleport as
well.
well.
To go down. This could be a lockdown from Dandy. He gets some damage onto Ella. Crystal now is joining the fight, and Dandy with the early Righteous Glory manages to get a slow box, staggers it out. Dandy is still alive, barely. Same thing with Ella. Finally, he goes down. Flandre picks it up. He doesn't have his Equalizer because he used it earlier. Hatong now has joined the fight, and this is 4 versus 4. Here comes World 6 from the 5. He's coming in from the Tribush, but isn't able to find it. But the turn from Flandre before World 6 can get there. They destroy Hatong, and World 6 has got to back away. Snake are now burning through Mata's health bar. They might be able to dive this with the mini-wave.
They certainly can dive this if they want to go in.
Yeah, World 6 gets the explosive cast, knocks Flandre back in. He kills Mata, but gets pulled right back in. World 6, despite being tanky, goes down. And Endless is the sole survivor of Snake's slaughter.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that World 6 decided to initiate that one up because it was a 5v3. And when you have a Scion at this point of the game, turrets mean nothing. He's already incredibly tanky, so they're able to get in there, mix it up, trade 1-for-1 in the end. But the turret goes into Snake's favor. And that was just a little bit all over the shop once again from Vici. World 6 was way too late. The rotation out of Hatong, once again, a little bit slower than you, who was able to make it up there and affect the team fight. And when you go Righteous Glory first on Dandy, you're looking for picks. You're not looking for 5v5 brawls. You don't have any resistances to go with the effective health. And you saw that that wasn't a pick, that was a fight. And in early game fights, Snake excelled.
Yeah, with that, they might just be able to snowball this game a little bit harder. They are hitting that very strong peak right now as you see he's now picked up a Brutalizer. The pickaxe going to be built into a Last Whisper as he's looking for some of those stronger item points. But that was 4 kills for 1 for Snake.
Yeah, and they got the turret, and now all of a sudden, top side of the map, it doesn't mean anything for the next couple of minutes. They will try and clear it out. But the next Dragon will be the priority, and Vici probably need to give it up. Right now, they just don't have the equivalent item spikes coming through. You see Yu, he's got the cooldown reductions finished, he's got the mana immune as well, working towards that early Last Whisper for the very cost-efficient build. Double pen items, although of the Abyssal Scepter kind coming through for Flandre. And the only area they have an advantage, really, is the AD carry. And Crystal, he's not there for the damage. He's just there to get everyone else in range.
Yeah, you can see with his build, going for the tier 2 boots before finishing the IE, he's not looking for kills. He's, like you said, he's looking for utility, clean up on the backside of the fight, and some heavy objectives, because Crystal is going to shred through these turrets. You can see the wave clear working so effectively with this minion wave. Vici might try to defend here because they've got Flandre splitting on the bottom, but it's so much poke.
Yeah, and that's Dandy's job. You saw it right there. Just catch all the shock blasts coming out. He needs some armament to be able to do it. But we mentioned the fact that Siva very useful in this composition because all of a sudden, Yu doesn't have to wave click. He can just sit there, auto attack, doesn't have to expend the mana to get the wave shoving nice and quickly. That's Crystal's job. He just sits there, boomerangs, ricochets, gets a wave down, sets you up to be successful.
Now, Dragon number 2 is picked up by Snake as they take that without any sort of contest from Vici. And it's exactly like you mentioned. They cannot fight right now. They do not have the strong item spikes and the item thresholds that Snake have just hit. Snake are 2,500 gold ahead, but the gold is where it counts. It's 3-0-4 on Yu.
Yeah, and mid lane, Yu is incredibly strong, and he's on an early mid champion in Jace, so that's just going to augment it further. You see Hitong, he's trying to match some of that with a fairly early game of his own with those cooldown reduction boots coming in. He's got a lot of wave clear, for example, but no one's really going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Yu at the moment.
Yeah, you just saw him clear that wave with a single ability and auto attack. That's how strong he is right now. Endless, seemingly the sole hope for Vici Gaming, as he does have the majority of their gold and the majority of his team's kills, 4 out of 5. He and Hetong are going to have to rely on Dandy and World 6 to keep them alive in the upcoming team fights. But Vici decide, you know what, we're just going to continue stalling at this laning phase. They might continue to hemorrhage turrets, though.
Yeah, they're just going to try and siege down turrets right now, Snake. You see how much damage gets just one wave coming through there. Problem right now is that Dandy had an early CS lead. Flandre's been able to farm up side waves, be able to get back in that CS advantage. Dandy, he's really had to group up with his team because he is the tanky member right now. World 6 isn't that tanky, went to Sidestone for some vision, although now going for Locket of the Eye and Solari to come through. But there's not really any answer to this mid-game spike right now from Vici. They need to sit there, wait, see if they can get a pick, try and stop some of the bleeding, and then maybe crawl their way back into this late game. Because mid-game, this team comp from Snake is way too strong.
Yeah, they are hitting some very scary damage spikes. The Haunting guys soon to come out for Flandre. It's 20 minutes in, 2 dragons to 1 in favor of Snake, and they've got a 3,500 gold lead now from that 2,500 after taking that mid tier 1 turret. So that's all 3 tier 1s gone.
Yeah, outer turret's gone. Vici's still looking to try and knock down that first one. So, you know, turret's still reasonably even. Dragons are 1-2, Snake up in that regard. Once again, a slight advantage for Snake, and that's what this game seems to be, a game of slight advantages coming through from Snake. And as we mentioned, they peak early, so they need to get these advantages. If the game gets to about 35 minutes and Snake aren't ahead, really only Siva. Jace is pseudo. Like, in situations, he looks good late game. Otherwise, he looks bad if he's just going for poke builds. Only Sion really going to scale up. And, you know, it's a jungle Sion, so he ain't even going to scale that much. So, overall, I think that they will eventually get stronger on Vici's lineup. They just need to be able to stop the objectives falling down so quickly.
Yeah, so far they've lost all 3 of their tier 1 turrets, and the next big things are going to be those dragons, keeping an eye on Baron, making sure they don't lose any tier 2s to the faster rotations from Snake. So we'll definitely see if that's going to be the case. And so far, Vici, they've been responding well, but it's been the Vici Gaming who have been responding to Snake.
Yeah, and you know, one thing that we can say about Vici is they're a smart team. Like, they're a rotation, map movement-based team that likes to ward up, pick the fight. So with a Tristana, all they need is to win one tiny trade, and they'll be able to shove through all of the base of Snake. So if any team is going to pull off a team comp like this, that scales, has to move objectively around the map and be able to pick up advantages where it's going, definitely think that Vici are the one to be able to pull it off. It's just that how far behind are they going to be when they get that opportunity? Because right now it looks like Snake are just going to continue to kick down front door after front door and push turrets.
Yeah, that was the rotation that we saw in the mid lane when they took that mid tier 1 just by keeping you there, feeding him blue buff after blue buff, and allowing him to hammer on the turret time and time again. Now, Beast in the jungle has actually been pretty effective. We talked a little bit about how his jungle clear was pretty strong, but let's talk about that a little bit more, because he ended up filling the role of a tank for his team on not what I would stereotypically consider as a tank.
Yeah, and you know, the person that made me a believer of jungle Maokai coming in here was actually Deft. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, played against him on it. He destroyed us. But yeah, so Deft, so the way that it works, right, is if you get Cinderhulk, he scales so well off his W, he farms incredibly quickly with his Q. The base stats on it are just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Then he's a strong initiator and a strong mid-game team fighter, because the thing is, you don't really want to wail on junglers unless you catch them out a little bit. So with the effective health pool coming through there, he can go things like the Locket of the Iron Solari, which are team fight items, keep his team up there boosted. Things like Frozen Heart, which is once again very cost efficient and a great item on site, gives him some more cooldown reduction. Spammable CC that comes through, it's all AoE, his ultimate very underrated. So he just feels like there's pseudo-tanky initiator from the jungle role that, you know, you would maybe look towards Zac if you didn't go Sion, because he does a similar thing, but I just think Sion does it better.
Yeah, and we are seeing Beast very effective. 2, 1, and 4 involved out of 6 of his team's kills, and so far, most of Snake's kills have been those group initiations. You can see 6 kill participation out of Ella, 7 kill participation out of Snake. So far, it has been Snake as a group collectively that have been doing serious work, and Vici are scrambling to prevent that from happening. But right now, as we mentioned, they are purely on the defensive to try stopping this early lead from Snake. Yeah,
so, and the longer it just goes back to this passive farm mode, which is what Vici's just enforced by sending members into all 3 lanes, is the better the game off is for Vici, because they're going to scale up very nicely. They're going to be relatively safe. As we said, they should get to a point where this Snake lineup does peak and start to fall over the very melee range. They will struggle to not siege, but take turrets with a wave clear that's going to come out of Hatong in the mid lane. Victor, a very good wave clearer champion with that proc that comes through from the laser. So right now, what they're doing, weathering the storm, turning into a little bit of a farm off, is the correct move. But you feel Snake, they're just waiting on the dragon, making sure that they don't overextend and give Vici that window any earlier than they want to.
Yeah, so that was the big question. What do Snake then do with this early lead? If they continue waiting it out for Dragon 5, that's going to be 15 minutes from now?
So what they do is they go back in time and they get that second dragon that they gave up when Beast gets caught. Because, yeah, if they're at 3 dragons, the thing is you don't fight for Dragon 5. Like, Dragon 5 happens, you get a team fight, and then you go for it. It's Dragon 4 that's really important. So right now, they would be going for Dragon 4 if they were at that point. They're going to be 6 minutes behind that. And Vici have to fight for Dragon 4, because what that means is Dragon 4, every single dragon becomes a 5th dragon for Snake. And that means that they can choose when they go for that 5th dragon. It's just that impending doom that lies over you if they don't have it. And that's all that they need to do. Rotate around the map, make sure they get to the 4th dragon mark, continue to push through. Pushing power, very good with a champion like Jace, because it just means those pop shots you get on the turret right now will do more damage when number 4 comes in. And that's all really Vici can do to answer, is clear out waves, make sure they're getting gold on priority targets.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now, is Vici are trying to defend their mid and top tier 2 turrets, whereas Snake, like you mentioned, did go for the quick swing to the top lane to try to chunk down this turret. They do now have a cannon minion wave. Endless has got such phenomenal clear, however, and just like that, boom, the whole wave gets knocked out.
Yeah, and you know, they need to do a better job right now, Vici, of clearing wards in the middle of the jungle so they can swing back and forth much quicker. Flandre should have been pushing up middle wave right there, trying to create a little bit more pressure on his own, because they've got some armor already on their jungle Scion, and the dive is a very real potential coming out already, only at 23 minutes in the game. So if they do a better job of clearing out the vision, making sure that Vici need to walk the long way around, they'll have a much easier job of forcing through all the wave clear that is on Vici's lineup.
Yeah, and speaking of vision, Beast actually didn't go for a Sightstone. He's just relying on regular old-fashioned wards to keep all of that map vision.
Yeah, and I actually really dislike Sightstone on jungler, because the general rule is you want to go back and you want to always have a pink ward on the map, and you can use 2 green wards. So that's like 150 gold over time. So that means the first time you get it, you don't have to give up the huge 800 gold chunk. Whereas right now, you see World 6, he's started to fall behind. He's gone for a very team oriented build, not a selfish build, which just means as a Soul tank, Beast is able to get more of his gold into tanky, selfish stats, so he can be that main initiator. If he went for a slot inefficient late game item and he's a Soul tank, it's only going to get worse for him as the game goes on.
Yeah, so far he seems to have been doing a good job of keeping himself alive at 2-1-4, and a Dragon has just spawned. We're 24.5 minutes into the game, and Snake need to capitalize off this. You can see them grouping around. There are pings for assist me, and Snake are actually creating a very tricky dichotomy. It's like, all right, you know we can play for that Dragon, but it's past 20 minutes. Baron's on the map as well. Yeah,
it certainly looks to be the case, and maybe they're just trying to deny blue buffs here so they have an easier time of sieging. So if they are able to trade Dragon for a blue buff, it might not necessarily be a bad thing because Hatong will eventually not be able to defend waves. And you see that Vici are able to pick that one up. Sion coming through though.
Yeah, Flandre just teleported into the back. Vici are looking, or Snake are looking for a fight. The Equalizer finds World 6 and Dandy, but those are the tanks. Here's the rest of Snake as they leap into the front line, but throughout this tiny choke, Hatong is going to thrive with all of his AoE damage, and Vici look like they're going to back away, but Snake aren't able to find the fight they want.
But they have the inside track, so as I said, if they're able to give up the Dragon and pick up some other objective, because we mentioned the game is going to go too long for the 5th Dragon, they might be able to do some work, but once again, good move from Vici means that they'll answer the turret.
Yeah, here comes the cannon minion wave, though. Endless finally creeping forward, trying to clear it out.
Just clipping you.
You took so much damage from that. The hook finds Dandy. He's able to get out of there, and this is Vici trying to turn the fight around, but defensive on the hunt is used.
All right, so I'm going to give credit to Dandy for something. If you go back and watch the replay, he actually just W'd a creep when a shock blast was going over him and a boomerang blade. Didn't take any damage.
That was awesome.
It was fantastic. It's the little things in League of Legends, because if he had taken that, all of a sudden they lose a lot of pressure in the mid lane. They maybe have to back off the turret. Instead, they go for a counter engage, and they're almost able to grab Flandre on the back of it. So credit to the top laner from Vici Gaming coming out. He's once again working on a Frozen Heart, and this team comp is going to eventually outscale, you feel, on the side.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Vici are stalling out this mid game. They've gone 5 minutes since losing that mid tier 1, and we're even able to secure the follow-up Dragon off of the back half of it. So far, Vici are keeping pace with Snake, and it seems like Snake might be tapering off just a little bit. They are hitting some of those bigger strides. You can see the full penetration build on Flandre.
Yeah, that's what's worrying me right now for Snake, is they've committed so hard to the mid game. They've got a Hex Drinker, they've got the Brutalizer, they've also got the full pen coming through from Flandre, which is okay late game. I guess they're all items that you want. Maybe arguably Abyssal Scepter isn't on the perfect item pathing for Rumble, but it was a very good laning item, so you understand why he picked it up. But they just committed so hard to this mid game with a mid game comp. And on the other side, you see Bloodthirster about to be finished off. No pen item right now coming through from Endless. He just wants to start the fight.
Ooh, Dandy looking for a pick. He finds you, who gets chunked down to half health. The explosive shot does some serious damage. Crystal blows on the help, but he doesn't have any team to help him out. And suddenly it's Snake who are caught out of position.
Yeah, Snake is going to be caught right now. Wow, they're not going.
Oh my gosh, Crystal is recalling.
Know he's there. Okay,
oh yeah, they see him. They saw him from the other side. Crystal going 1v4 here, gets destroyed by Dandy. Pings are going down onto the Baron, and that late game just happened a whole lot sooner for Vici.
Yeah, and we said at 30 minutes the game will turn around. They were only 3,000 gold ahead. It wasn't enough, and all of a sudden Vici want to force objectives now. Going on to the Baron, they are doing it incredibly quickly. Snake need to go now.
Yeah, Endless is doing so much damage. Flandre's got the Equalizer. He drops it. The Baron is secured by World 6. Beast looks for the steal, but he's only going to die for his efforts. And Vici have just blown this game wide open.
Yeah, and it was just a questionable, I guess, movement coming through. They got caught out by a Maokai. And Maokai's always been a great pick champion, weren't able to burn through. Now they've got a Baron for themselves. They've equalized the gold. And that pushing power, that wave clear that we've been talking about from Snake, that's going to have to be used defensively, because right now, they're going to be shoved in quite hard from a Tristana of all things.
Oh yeah, Endless now completing that Bloodthirster is so dangerous, involved in 6 out of his team's 7 kills. Really just phenomenal play coming out of Vici, taking their time, holding their breath, playing nice and patient, and just like that, the mid-game power spike for Snake. It's still there, but Vici have got a pretty solid advantage with this Baron.
Yeah, they certainly do, and you know, they need to concentrate on the zone control that their team brings right now, the Thresh, the Rumble, not to mention the Scion. So these are all good things, zoning-wise, that are still inherently built into Snake's lineup. It's not like all their power disappeared, it's just that outright brute force that Jace gives you in the mid-game, that is starting to drop off.
Yeah, and we do have the mid-tier 1 going down as the rotation from Vici sends Dandy to the bottom with a pretty
teleport.
big minion
They're going to
wave.
be able to pick this up anyway.
Yeah, the tier 2 looks like it's going down as all of Vici collapse onto it. It is shredded into pure hulks of stone, and just like that, it collapses.
Yeah, and you know, Endless right now with this purely pushing build coming through, with the Bloodthirster as the third item, as opposed to maybe a Last Whisper that Crystal's looking at, they're just able to make sure that they're hitting turrets for maximum damage. Doesn't matter whether Beast is tanky. That's not Endless's target right now. With this Baron buff, he just wants to be able to chunk out minions.
Yeah, we see a dive coming out. A huge explosive cast separates Vici or Snake into total chaos as they're being picked off left, right, and center. Dandy in the front line. Ignite is burning down, but he's going to get out alive. They're diving the tier 2 turret right now, but they don't even care about it because they do so much damage. World 6 is sufficiently tanky. Recall from Dandy. I'm sure he's going to teleport right back into the fight at full health. With 3 members of Snake dead, they could be looking for the inhibitor here.
They could be looking for the game right now. There's still 20 seconds, and they've got a Tristana pushing through with Baron buff. They do finally pull out because they just want the bottom inhib coming through. Dandy can take that one up. They'll be able to shred through, and all of a sudden, Snake's chances of winning this game have nearly disappeared because of that fantastic initiation from World 6.
Yeah, World 6 pulling the trigger with the flank. The wards from Vici on that bottom side of the jungle was so excellent. And I'm sure the minions are going to get it. Yeah, it finally does go down. Minion secures it. Hook finds World 6. That's not the target they want. You can see the tank lines going back and forth. Hatong dashes in with his flash. He gets a huge Michaelis to keep himself alive. Dandy is also in the front line, but he's going to end up going down. Yu is shredded by Endless, who does so much damage. Midair Flay is ineffective as Endless is looking for even more. It's a triple kill for Hatong. Another kill for Endless. The 2 inhibitors are down. They might be looking to end the game right here, right now.
Yeah, they certainly are. And you know, 31 minutes in, they turn it on. From about that game was all Snake up until 28 minutes. Vici, they outscale, flick the switch, and Snake don't have an answer.
Yeah, and this is Beast putting up a last futile effort. He makes it back into the fountain, but what good is survival when the Nexus itself goes down? And that's going to be Vici Gaming taking game number 1.
Yeah, so